Persona 4 Revival, a remake of Persona 4 Golden, the enhanced re-release of Persona 4 available on Steam, Switch, PlayStation 5, and Xbox whatever, was announced to a hyped indifference. It was an announcement that captured so much enthusiasm because so many people have been begging for a Persona 4 remake for years, but was tempered by the lackluster trailer footage and that Persona 4 Revival had been credibly leaked months before the official announcement. The overall vibe is still very positive. Persona 4! It's being remade. It's gonna be fixed. Every story decision I don't like is going to be rewritten to match my headcanon, and every mechanic I don't like is gonna be ripped out and replaced by whatever I pretend is objectively good quality of life game design. If you can't tell, I'm a little unimpressed by Persona 4 Revival. Not as a work of art or a video game on its own. It's not out. I haven't played it. You haven't played it. Who knows what it'll actually be like? Instead, I'm unimpressed by its existence, by the years of people begging for a Persona 4 remake, and how it fits into the larger trends of video game culture and fandom culture. Yes, it's me, the Joy Sucker, here to say that remakes are rotting your brain. It's hard to say what the most wished-for games are. As far as I'm aware, there's no real public polling on this. Such data probably exists privately within development studios for some spreadsheet nerd to make potential earnings reports about, but I can only go off of what I've seen in the comments and posts that have passed by my computer screen. Some of the most dreamed about games I've seen are a Resident Evil 5 remake, a Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War remake, a Bloodborne remake, a Final Fantasy IX remake, and on the Final Fantasy front, the third entry in the 7 remake trilogy is far more hyped up than 17. And of course, ever since the PlayStation 3 tech demo, 7 was itself a long-time remake dream for people. Before the announcement, Persona 4 was another massive dream I saw. In the wake of Persona 3 Reload, so many posts begged and begged, hands and knees wet for a Persona 4 remake, many more than were dreaming about a possible Persona 6, and I have to wonder, why? What does it mean, exactly, that we are obsessed with remakes? Remakes have existed for centuries, but the intense fervor over remakes burns bright today. As I see it, there are two major causes of this: the rapid advancement and subsequent plateauing of video game technology, and the effects of postmodern capitalism on audience attitudes towards art and fiction. It would be wrong to say video game technology has stopped advancing, but the perceptible change, year over year, to the naked eye, is diminishing. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a PlayStation 5 game, and the jump in perceptible graphical difference between it and Final Fantasy VII Remake, a PlayStation 4 game, is less than the jump between Final Fantasies 7 and 8, two games on the same console released more closely together than the two 7 remakes. This rapid advancement throughout most of video game history, and this recent plateauing of perceptible difference puts many games made PS3 and early on remake high alert. The incessant demand for a Final Fantasy VII Remake after the PS3 tech demo shows the particular power of this plateau. There is a sense among many players that older games are somehow incomplete, somehow betrayed by their older technology. Imagine Final Fantasy VII, or Final Fantasy IX, or 10, with today's graphics technology, the voice acting quality, the quality control on localizations and typos. This dream has been around for a long time. Resident Evil was remade only 6 years and 1 console generation later, and it's hard to argue against the results. Resident Evil Remake is arguably the best of the classic Resident Evil games, and the lighting, sound design, and environmental design of the Spencer Mansion is still unnerving 20 years later. Disposing of zombie bodies and crimson heads were brilliant gameplay additions pulling from what director Shinji Mikami learned from making Dino Crisis, and it's a top-to-bottom first-rate horror production. But it infects the brain with this horrific virus, this question of what if. What if Resident Evil 2 were remade like this? What if Final Fantasy IX were remade like this? It can become this obsessive question where everything from the past that we love needs to be remade properly and brought into its true self. Rather than experience new things, even within the same long-running franchises of Resident Evil and Final Fantasy and Persona, people want to see the past, again, remade, the same experience brought towards a recency-biased normalcy. Ever since Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia was announced in 2017, every Nintendo Direct has been met by Fire Emblem fans begging for a Genealogy of the Holy War remake. It has gone on for so long at this point that it's more a meme, honestly, but it does speak to our desire to see the same thing over and over and over again. The kind of dreaming that goes into imagining remakes, these what-ifs, the what if Zidane were realistically rendered, can be fun and very good for the imagination. This kind of dreaming is seen as absurd when the gap is The Last of Us into The Last of Us Part 1 or even Dead Space into Dead Space, but the viewer's impulse to reimagine art is a good one. Art, I believe, springs from this imagination, input and output, engaging with something one loves and then filling in the infinite blanks left by the work. The downside is that publishers will grind your dreams into gravel and pave over them with 4K performance mode third-person action gameplay. Earlier I said that postmodern capitalism is to blame, and yeah, it's easy to make fun of a statement like that, so before anyone gets all over my body, let's reword it to the more digestible, the current condition is the cause of the situation. As game design ideas get defamiliarized and generalized across the entire medium, we see games drift towards these commercially acceptable, simplified versions of ideas that spread across so many games. The immersive sim skill tree has become smaller, exists in all sorts of games, and almost always can be easily reset if the player wants to make different retroactive decisions. Random encounters are vanishing. Abrasive decisions like the inability to control party members in Persona 3 are removed in Reload. Remakes of horror and stealth games move to over-the-shoulder Resident Evil 4 style cameras and gunplay. And if you're the Resident Evil 4 remake, Leon can now move and shoot because that's the operating standard of a good video game. If you're the Demon's Souls remake, the music is amped to big choirs and orchestras for bosses because that's what good Souls-like music is. If you're ever in the South, stop by a Raising Cane's, eat in, and look at the decor. The meal will be pretty good, but you'll see Chuck Norris memes, signed sports jerseys, Gone in 60 Seconds and Superbad posters, disco balls, Elvis fan art. It's an interior design nightmare, a cacophony of things people like to create a disorderly aesthetic design to maximize consumer retention and visibility. Cracker Barrel is the same thing, but unlike Cane's, the food sucks. We see the same in video game remakes. A standard gallery of objectively good mechanical features are canonized as these little fucked up simulacrums of good video game design, and so many of the big remakes and so much of what people ask for in remakes are about bringing these features to old games, applying a phony wallpaper to interesting games from long ago. Metal Gear Solid Delta takes the old gameplay of Metal Gear Solid 3 and standardizes it to modern action conventions and removes the piss filter because the piss filter is weird. This isn't to say that remakes cannot be good. At the time of writing, Metal Gear Solid Delta isn't out yet, so while I'm skeptical, to say the least, I'm not going to opine definitively on that game's quality. Resident Evil 2 is an excellent game. Both Resident Evil 2s. Resident Evil 2 Remake is really fun, but without getting too deep into the woods, it carries with it that frustration of being a remake of a PS1 survival horror game that does exactly what you would expect a PS4 remake of a PS1 survival horror game to do. And I think that's important to consider. Some remakes are very good on their own, but this isn't an issue with individual games, rather the trend at large. The gravitation towards remakes is because fandom culture in our little, lovely, postmodern era has made individual games into their own signals that can be taken advantage of by publishers. It isn't just that Resident Evil has drifted towards an industry-wide standardized form, it's that sales of the Resident Evil and Final Fantasy remakes are comparable and sometimes in excess of new mainline entries. It is simply easier to sell a Silent Hill 2 remake to both new players and returning fans than it is a new Silent Hill game. Is this the video game market following or creating behaviors? I can't say for sure, but the stock responses of why players want to see remakes, of wanting to see better graphics and presentation, and seeing annoying gameplay scrubbed away, indicate a general buy-in to the idea of continuously remaking, altering, and re-experiencing the past in more standardized ways. Hey, I get it. Sometimes you just want Pokemon Diamond and Pearl at 60 frames per second. To me, that's the major concern. We are too willing to recreate and standardize past experiences while being surprisingly unwilling to experience new or different things. It's soul-draining to see our imagination and love for the past being redirected into recreating and homogenizing past art, and stealing from our interest in new experiences, new stories, new characters, and new modes of gameplay. The recent mainline Resident Evil titles have sold very well, but it's also of easy financial benefit for Capcom to remake Resident Evil 4 and get everyone excited to buy a new game called Resident Evil 4, the same name as that game I remember from a long time ago. With Silent Hill 2 in particular, it bugs me that this strange, dreamlike game, one of the best to ever do it, one defined by its uncanny acting and creaky surreality, was remade into a fairly standard horror game that checks all the boxes for what normal video game voice acting and gameplay are like, and so many people judged it to be objectively better. We don't have to unpack the meaning of that word, objective, to understand what it means in shorthand. The Silent Hill 2 remake fixes the obviously bad parts of the game and makes them good. This drives me fucking bananas because it speaks not only to a general inability by gamers to experience new and different and uncomfortable things, but also to the product review bug lodged in the gaming subconscious. We continue to approach games as toys and old games as old toys that need updates, and we gravitate towards the toys we played with growing up and want more of exactly that, but normal now, please. I don't want to give the impression that remakes are everything anyone cares about. 2025 has been a refreshing year, coming off of a year where everyone was saying Persona 3 Reload and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for Game of the Year. Clair Obscur, Expedition 33, and the 100-line Last Defense Academy have been two of the biggest successes of the year, and also completely original titles. People and gamers are not entirely remake all day, but that does not change that we are, collectively, too willing to overhype, overplay, and overspend on games that recreate and resell us old experiences that harm the artistic legacy of video games rather than help it. If you enjoyed this video and are able to do so, consider supporting the channel on Patreon or on YouTube as a YouTube member. If you do, not only will you get early access to video scripts, videos, and Patreon-exclusive essays, but you will also get access to the Patreon-exclusive Game Club Discord server, where every month we play a game together and discuss it. We just wrapped up playing Hideo Kojima's 1994 adventure game, Policenauts, together, and in July, we will be playing, I'm not entirely sure. I usually only make one video a month, so I didn't think that far ahead, but no matter what game it is, I hope to see you there. And the names you see on screen right now are all the people currently supporting the channel on Patreon and YouTube. Thank you so much for your support.